All right, welcome to Project 3550. This is episode number 11. So I figured I would start this video out by putting my squat shoes on. And the reason I'm doing that is last video I made, I was putting these same shoes on and Eric Helms called me out and he basically called me Mr. Rogers. So I figured I'd run with the joke and I would do it Mr. Godfather neighborhood style and put these squat shoes on starting the video. So on a more serious note, I want to get you guys caught up to speed with my prep. So the last couple of weeks, it's more of the same. I'm still dropping some weight. I'm losing roughly a pound a week. So I'm now down to, seeing a lot of 192s. So that's really exciting. Visibly starting to gain a little more confidence, starting to see some changes. Arms and legs are getting a little bit leaner. The midsection, I'm still not seeing a lot of abs, but I can tell that my midsection is starting to slim down just a little bit. So I'm starting to look more like what an off-season bodybuilder should look like. I'm about 10 pounds away from looking like, oh, okay, we're starting to look like a more cut up bodybuilder. So slowly but surely, I'm getting there. And it was nice to kind of see early in the week. I took a casual photo while I was training legs and I was kind of hitting an arm pose. And I was like, oh, wow, that actually looks pretty good. Because in my mind, what I've been seeing is, not a lot of visual progress. And I was starting to question whether or not I was going to even look the part, or I should say, look like I've made any improvements or fear of a little regression since my last contest season. And there's a little bit of insecurity when it comes to my age. I know I've been training for a very, very long time, and I know it's not like you're gonna lose muscle mass as long as you continue to train. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, I am 49 and, my training is getting a little bit harder, meaning, there's more aches and pains and I'm not, capable of still kind of maintaining the same type of intensity all the time. So I've really had to kind of pick my spots, when to push and when to back off. So there's just a little bit of that insecurity in the back of my head. And I think a lot of you guys can kind of relate to, a little bit of insecurity. I know a lot of us, will think like, okay, how am I going to compare to the competition? Am I going to be big enough? Am I going to be shredded enough? Am I going to embarrass myself? So I know a lot of us, we're human. I should say all of us are human. So even myself, who's been training for a very long time, competing for a very long time, there's still a little bit of insecurities there. And this week, it was just nice to have, that positive mindset because of just one picture that I've seen where it's like, oh, I actually look okay. So I'm pretty confident now. I just need to keep building on it. So I need to basically stay on point with what I'm doing. The 5 low days during the week, the 2 refeeds on the weekend. Don't let those refeeds get too far away from me, meaning, over consume too much food, but make sure I'm eating enough to, in a sense, stock my glycogen stores back up. That way, I get plenty of energy again. Make sure I'm performing well, recovering well. And also, as far as, life quality, making sure that I have enough food there to enjoy, date nights and all that with my wife. Especially, in this crazy world, as far as the pandemic is concerned, it's hard to venture out. It's not like we can go out to eat and all these things. So I really want to make it a point to try to, make the weekends a little bit more about my wife, about my family, and not missing out on the social aspect of that. I think, what I really strive for with my contest preps, not so much, hey, I want to try to better my physique. I mean, that's always the goal. That goes without saying. And of course, naturally placing well at shows. I mean, that's important. But what's also important is how I balance out, prep with life. I want to make sure that that balance is of high quality. And I do think that it does deserve attention. And I do think it is somewhat of a skill that can be acquired. Like the more you prep, the more you do it. Like just like anything in life, the more you do it, you get better at it. But when you hear people, and I've been in this camp before, back when I was in my 20s, you have to sacrifice to win. That camp is, in a sense, kind of saying, hey, I'm going to put everything on the back burner because I need to win. Like, winning is everything, and you have to sacrifice in order to make that happen. What I've learned over the years that that's not the case. Just like hitting your macros, just like training hard, just like getting your cardio in, practicing your posing, like those things you get better with in time. So why can't you apply that same mindset to ensuring that you're being a good human outside the gym while you're prepping? And that means kind of putting yourself second when you need to do that. So that way, you have that support system around you. Like, they understand what you're doing. They realize that, it's not always about us. They're like, okay, he's thinking about me. So I think that's super, super important. And, to me, when all's said and done, like when I'm done with my season, I want to be successful on stage. I want to be successful with, in a sense, having the best physique I could bring to this stage, the best prep, as far as the execution of it, teaching others through the process of that, and most importantly, that I'm being a good husband and I'm being a good dad and all that. So those are the things that, kind of go through my mind. It's been a little challenging the last couple of weeks on a personal note. There's a lot going on. But outside of the stressors of that, I'm hanging in there and doing okay. On the training side of things, I know on Instagram I put up a poll whether you guys wanted to kind of hear about the context of my training, and I decided not to do that. And the reason I decided not to do that, because if you guys have followed me, you guys know that more or less my volume, in comparison to the general recommendations, in comparison to maybe others, it's definitely on the lower side. And sometimes, I get a lot of questions in regards to that. And, sometimes it just gets to be a little overwhelming. And what I notice is when I'm a little more stressed, and especially the last couple weeks, I've had a lot of higher stress levels on the personal side. So I tend to get a little defensive or a little irritated by all the questions or the bombardment of, why is your volume so low? How can you make progress like that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, when I put that poll up on Instagram, it was more of an irritation on my part, something I'm not proud of, but I'm human. And of course, Eric Helms, someone who I definitely look up to. He's a good friend, and usually when he calls me out on something, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be true. So he said, hey, Jeff, it just appears like you're being pretty defensive, and there's really no reason why you have to kind of justify yourself. And I took it to heart. I'm like, you're right. I figured, okay, I need to go back to what I'm good at. And that's just sharing my journey and just showing you guys what I do. And the only thing I can say is that when you've trained for 34 years, going to be my 35th year here soon, really close. At the end in December, it's going to be 35 years, which is crazy to think. But when you've trained that long and you've prepped for so many shows, been prepping since the early 90s, in a sense, you could think of like all the trial and error I've done over that time. So at this point in time, I can just say that what I've done or what I'm doing, it works for me. And I think that's what's most important, is that each of us, in a sense, find what works for us. And if it delivers progress, that's awesome. And more importantly, if it delivers progress and enjoyment, that's what it's all about. And of course, naturally with my athletes, I don't coach my athletes exactly how I coach myself or how I do my own protocols. I have athletes with various protocols, whether it's, high volume, low volume, average volume, high calories, low calories. I mean, you name it. What I try to do with each athlete is to learn what ticks for them and try to find the best protocols. Again, that delivers progress, but yet delivers progress with as much enjoyment as possible. Because again, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, is having fun and enjoying ourselves. And for me, you know, when I get on stage in 2021, you know, of course, you know, the insecurity is creeping up. I want to be at my all-time best, but most importantly, I want to make sure that, you know, I have a blast and I'm having fun. So I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one.